Very good afternoon, my dear students. How are you all? Hope all of you are doing good. Yes, welcome back to history class. In the previous concepts we have studied after these two new religions, the Jainism and Buddhism, the rulers who have ruled our India. In northern India, the Mauryan Empire, as well as in South India, in the North India, the Mauryan Empire. The period from 320 AD to 550 AD is known as the imperial age of the Guptas. So here you can observe around 330 years the Guptas had ruled. During this period, India made a progress in the fields of education, science and culture. That is why this period also is known as a classical age or the golden age of Indian history. You can make as a question here, why does the age of the Guptas also called as the classical age or the golden age of Indian history? Means during this period the India made wonderful progress in the fields of education, science and culture. Next, what are the sources? As we have discussed in the beginning, only two major sources to know about the age of the Guptas: accounts of Fahyan and the Allahabad pillar inscription or Prayaga Prashasti. Here, first one, accounts of Fahyan. Fahyan was the earliest Chinese pilgrim who visited India on a religious mission during the reign of Chandragupta II. During his stay in India, he went on a pilgrimage to Mathura, Kanauj, Kapilavastu, Kushinagar, Vaishali, Pataliputra, Kashi and Rajagriha and made careful observations about the conditions at that time without resorting to any bias. Any bias means without doing any unfair things, without whatever he had made, whatever he observed while his period of pilgrimage, whatever he had observed, whatever conditions he observed and made an account without interfering any their involving or interfering any of their personal matters. He made a brief account on the age of the Guptas. According to Fahyan's accounts, what briefly here it is given that few points are mentioned. What did he mention in his accounts? Magadha was a prosperous country with a large town teeming with wealthy population. Here, at the end of Jainism and Buddhism, during that time itself, many Mahajanapadas started to be formed. Like Mahajanapadas means large empires. Mahajanapadas, large empires like Magadha, Vatsa, Koshala, Avanti, such kind of 16 Janapadas were there. These Mahajanapadas, out of these, Magadha was one of the very greatest empire because it is very prosperous also, prosperous country with large towns teeming with wealthy population. Why everyone's or most of the rulers' eye was on Magadha? There is a reason. Here even Mauryans also had captured Magadha from the Nandas. Do you remember in previous class we have studied? From the Nandas, Mauryas also captured Magadha and they started to rule. Same, why everyone's eye was on Magadha means because of its geographical condition, which were favorable, a fertile land, and it had a great mineral deposits as well as many other positive things. Everyone were, I was on Magadha. Of course, it was a prosperous country with large towns teeming with wealthy population. He had mentioned in his accounts. Next, Pataliputra was a flourishing city with numerous charitable institutions, including a hospital endowed by benevolent citizens. Although the people were wealthy, they led simple lives, generally observing the Buddhist rules of conduct. Of course, though they were very wealthy, they were leading a simple life. Generally, they were observing the Buddhist rules of conduct. So, how very simple religion Buddhism was, we know that. They were following, most of the people following Buddhist rules of conduct. Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Buddhism and Jainism were the main religions during that time. People, however, had no ill will towards other sects. Means they were tolerant with all the other religions also. Hindus, gods and goddesses were depicted on coins and also in sculptures and paintings. The penal code was like, the law was mild and the offences were ordinarily punished by fines only. Penals means, the penal code means the law was very mild, not very hard. Then the offences were ordinarily punished by simple fines only. From the observing of these above accounts, it can be inferred that the Gupta Empire was prosperous and governed on enlightened principles. Next, another major source to know about the age of the Guptas is the Allahabad pillar inscription or Prayaga Prashasti. In those days, as I have told, Ashoka started to carve the inscriptions on the hard surfaces, like on the walls, pillars, stones, like that, right? So he had introduced for the first time in India the inscriptions, so which gives more information about particular rulers, those who had ruled. So here also Allahabad pillar inscription also one of the major source to know about the age of the Guptas. It is one of the important epigraphic evidences of the imperial Guptas. Composed by Harisena, the court poet of Samudragupta. This Samudragupta was the son of Chandragupta first. Chandragupta I. Chandragupta I officially is known as the founder of the Gupta dynasty, but actually he made as a popular, that is why he was considered as Chandragupta first as the founder. Actually the original founder of the Gupta dynasty was Sri Gupta, which did not become as a more popular. But under Chandragupta I, their dynasty expanded and extended and expanded, so that he became as a popularly known as he was the founder of Chandragupta I came to be known as he was a founder of the Gupta dynasty, and his son, then it is followed by his son Samudragupta, and Samudragupta succeeded by his son Chandragupta II or Vikramaditya, who had got the title of Vikramaditya. I will explain you later on. But those who were the famous rulers of this Gupta dynasty means Chandragupta I, then Samudragupta, and followed by Chandragupta II or Vikramaditya. About these three rulers, if you know, it is more than enough. But actually, officially, the founder of Gupta dynasty was Sri Gupta. Okay. Now, it is this Allahabad pillar inscription was composed by Harisena, the court poet of Samudragupta. Allahabad pillar inscription, also known as Prayaga Prashasti, is written in praise of Samudragupta, arguably the most powerful of the Gupta rulers. He was the most powerful of the Gupta rulers, Samudragupta. Mostly it is focused on praising Samudragupta only. It describes the reign of Guptas in ancient India. Besides, it provides an impressive list of kings and tribal republics that were conquered by Samudragupta. Then the inscription is also important because of the political geography of India that it indicates by naming the different kings and people who populated India in the first half of the 4th century AD. So not only it was praising mostly about the Samudragupta's conquers and his expansion, about his administration. Not only that, but also it explains about during the first half of the 4th century, many people, those who ruled, and popular people's names and kings, different kings and people's names also were mentioned in this Allahabad pillar inscription, which was composed by Harisena, who was a court poet in the court of Samudragupta. This is the second source to know about the age of the Guptas. First one, Fahian's accounts, and second one, the Allahabad pillar inscriptions. My dear students, sometimes in the board exam, very simple questions can be asked. That just briefly write about the sources to know about the age of the Guptas. Any one point you will have to mention about the Fahian's accounts, and one point if it is has been asked 2 mark question in the first section, 2 mark question, 1 point you will have to write about Fahian's accounts and 1 point you will have to write about Allahabad pillar inscription. So but whatever it may be, for each and every concept of history in this 9th standard lesson, sources is very important. Starting from the very beginning, a changing time, from that time onwards, all the lessons, in all the lessons, sources you will have to focus. According to ICSE reduced board exam, reduced syllabus, you need not to learn much more focus on the reign of Gupta period and their political history as well as administration. You need not to focus on Samudragupta or Chandragupta or Vikramaditya. But just I would like to give you an important information. It will be helpful for you further if you attend any competitive exams. Just I will tell you that who were popularized in the Gupta dynasty and how did they rule, just as a glance. I would like to give you a small glance. Here, the history of the first 2 rulers of the Gupta dynasty, that was the founder of the Gupta dynasty, Sri Gupta, and his son Ghatotkacha, is obscure. We don't know about them. So, it is believed that the Gupta era originated with the reign of Chandragupta I. As I have mentioned already, Chandragupta I were popularized as the founder of the Gupta dynasty. Then Chandragupta I, he was the first independent king with the title of Maharajadiraja or King of Kings. Only this much information, if you know, it is more than enough. Next, Samudragupta, much of the information about him is obtained from the Allahabad pillar inscription composed by his court poet who was known as Harisena. He was a great conqueror, an able statesman, as well as a patron of arts also. He patronized many artisans and craftsmen, everyone. Then because of his bravery and generalship, he is also known as the Napoleon of India. Next, he performed an Ashwamedha Yajna or horse sacrifice. And also in the Gupta rulers, he was a great ruler, a musician and a poet also. Question can be asked in any of the competitive exams or any quiz competitions. Who was a famous musician in the Gupta rulers? He was very famous in playing Veena. Samudragupta was very famous in playing Veena, as well as he was a famous musician, great ruler and poet also. Next, we will follow by Chandragupta II or Vikramaditya. During his reign, the Chinese pilgrim Fahian visited India. Here the question can be asked in any of the exams that during which Gupta ruler's time the Chinese pilgrim Fahian visited India. Very, very important question during the Chandragupta II, or another name is Vikramaditya. His title, he has got the title as Vikramaditya. Okay, next he issued wide varieties of gold coins, and on many of his coins he has the title of Vikramaditya. Next, his court is said to have been adorned by 9 gems, like how you would have learnt in your Kannada lesson. Krishna Devaraya's court was adorned by 8 Diggajas, Ashta Diggajas, right? In the same way, here Vikramaditya's court has been adorned by 9 gems, including famous poet Kalidasa, Varahamihira and Amarasimha, like that 9 gems, 9 people. It was adorned by 9 members, 9 gems. This is about a small glance about the famous rulers of Gupta dynasty, Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, and followed by Chandragupta II or Vikramaditya.